Hello and welcome to the top 10 things I have discovered while exploring on Google Earth that are extremely difficult or downright impossible to get to. Topping the list at number 1 is the place I want to visit more than anywhere else in the world that may also be the most difficult place to reach in the entire world. These places stand out above all else due to their extreme remoteness, inaccessibility, or the dangerous lengths required to access them. I'm actually gearing up to attempt to visit one of these locations soon, and I have already come as close as humanly possible to one of them. Number 10 is the Nuclear Square Mile in New Mexico. I noticed it while looking at the nearby Trinity site. What makes it so interesting is that the inner square is a perfect 1 by 1 square mile, and the outer polygonal shape is exactly 2 miles wide. I would imagine these dimensions play a role in its function for the military, and many things have been exploded here. This is pretty much impossible for me to access as it's located within the White Sands missile range. My best chance would be to visit the Trinity site when it opens to the public for one day every April and October. Even then, I would probably only get a little peek at it from a distance. Number 9 is Capote Falls, Texas. I accidentally stumbled upon this thing when I was examining a series of canyons near Big Bend. Google Earth has the tiniest label on it, which is where I found the name, and I was surprised to see that it looks like one of the coolest waterfalls in the mainland US, and I had never heard of it before. Apparently, it is a spring-fed waterfall that flows year-round and is disputed to be the tallest waterfall in Texas. Very little information or pictures of it exist online as it is located on private land, meaning the only way to see it is 1. Know the owners of the property, 2. Break into the property and hike 20 miles from the highway. Trust me, this is not a good idea in Texas. Or 3. Charter a plane and fly over it, which would be very cost prohibitive and certainly not satisfy me after seeing this picture. I would really love to see this place in person and swim in that pool of water. Alright, number 8 is the massive ice canyons of Ojuatuk National Park. Even from above, you can instantly understand why this place is so special. Colossal canyons of rock and ice spiderweb with the blue Arctic Ocean water. Even the fjords of Norway pale in comparison to these things. The only way to get here is via seaplane or a long journey on a snowmobile or boat, and there's really only pictures of one canyon here, which is called Akshayuk Pass. That means the other sections of the park are probably very hard to get to. Furthermore, there are a ton of polar bears here. However, there are small Inuit towns on the Atlantic edge of this greater peninsula that could provide access to its remote reaches. Number 7, the giant footprint visible from space in Utah. Pretty self-explanatory. This uniquely shaped canyon looks like a big footprint. In my opinion, it is surrounded with a vast, almost impenetrable labyrinth of canyons on the west and the jagged outcropping of rock known as Capitol Reef on the east. Getting to this place requires 3 to 4 days of backpacking just one way and traversing through many narrow canyons that are extremely prone to unexpected flash floods. Getting here would require extensive navigation skills, preparation, and experience. However, I do know people have reached this place. Number 6 is the Eye of the Sahara in Mauritania, Africa. This is an incredible geologic feature, also known as the Rikhut structure. It's a place where the blanket of the Sahara Desert parts to reveal a 30-meter wide blue ice staring upwards. This one is super special to me as I can recall randomly finding it on Google Earth one night many years ago and since then being completely obsessed with satellite imagery. I love showing this to friends and seeing their reactions because it captures everyone's imaginations differently. The eye looks like it's crying sand, and it really makes me wonder what else is hiding under the blanket of the Sahara Desert. Furthermore, it was upon researching the Rikhut structure that I first learned that the Sahara Desert around 6,000 years ago was a lush green rainforest and very likely the heart of human civilization at that time. It is so immense that it is visible from space and is used by astronauts on the ISS as a visual landmark. Getting here requires an immensely long and difficult journey through the Sahara Desert in Mauritania. Even upon technically arriving here, it would just look like a vast field of dirt and rocks. It is impossible to photograph even a small fraction of it. Your best chance would be to hop on a plane that flies a course next to it. Number 5 is what I'm calling the most isolated chunk of the Colorado Plateau in Utah. In an already very remote landscape, this place stands above. I really like canyons, and I always wondered why some of these canyons here lacked any names or trails until I realized that due to its natural geology, accessing this plateau is extremely difficult. The shape of these two converging canyons and the steep walls on all sides basically cut off access except through one very narrow choke point. There is a single dirt road that passes through this choke point. Driving this would require a very determined effort to be alone, lots of extra gas, and a very competent 4x4 vehicle. Beyond that, there's really no evidence of trails, human buildings, no labels on Google Earth, absolutely nothing. Number 4 is the Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant and the PG&E-owned coastline in central California. Google Earth provides a really unique view of this strange-looking nuclear power plant, which is located on what I can best describe as a mini version of Big Sur National Park. The Energy Goliath PG&E has shut off public access to this beautiful coastline. The contrast between nature and a massive industrial energy facility is really interesting to me and why I have looked around here on Google Earth. Look at these neon blue pools at the top of it. It's just crazy looking. I actually got as close as any plebeian such as myself possibly can get on the one trail they allow a limited number of the public to hike on every day. The scale of this power plant was impressive even from several miles away. While you admire this view, I would like to simply point out that on August 11, 2023, a sediment spill caused by PG&E wiped out one of the most pristine remaining Chinook salmon runs in Northern California in Butte Creek, and not a lot has been done to remedy this terrible situation. Alright, at number 3, we have the greatest oasis in the world in South Australia. I once noticed that directly in the centre of the red outback of Australia is a very unique place. You can see where pools of water are literally oozing onto the surface and flowing across the outback, creating a shallow delta that flows for hundreds of miles. I came to find out that this is the largest collection of natural springs in Australia and is known as Witjura National Park. Getting here would require extremely long days and days worth of driving. The closest town, Port Augusta, is 887 kilometers away. There are many spots I plan on exploring in Australia, but I'm not sure if I'll ever make it here just due to how remote it is. Number 2 is the volcan Extinto in Coahuila, Mexico. This is an incredible geologic feature near the United States-Mexico border. It appears to be a giant dormant volcano wrapped up within an incredible complex of canyons. Only one picture of this thing exists on Google Maps, and I can't find any information about it online, which is surprising given how striking of a landscape it is. In my experience, this points towards it being somewhere very few people have ever gone. I mean, just look at the size of these canyons it is next to. I am sure these are filled with waterfalls and all sorts of amazing geology and nature. Not to mention all these other interesting-looking geologic features nearby. There doesn't appear to be any towns, let alone paved roads, within tens of miles of this place. Resources would be a very difficult thing here, and if something went wrong, good luck. Furthermore, its close proximity to the border might actually complicate visiting this place. I would really love to explore here for days on end. Coming in at number 1 is Ulachensis in Yakutia, northern Russia. This place is like another world, and it was only just discovered in 2012 from someone looking out of a plane and noticing how unusual the rock formations are. I'm bending the rules here a little bit for this one because I will admit that I first saw a picture of this place on Reddit, and it instantly became one of my life's greatest goals to visit here. Since then, I have searched around this area on Google Earth pretty extensively, which is unfortunately difficult because its location is not properly labeled on Google Earth, and even the satellite imagery is very spotty and low resolution. I believe there are hundreds more places to find out here that few humans have ever set eyes upon. You could only attempt to visit this place in the dead middle of summertime when the sun would never fully set because of how far into the Arctic Circle it is. The nearest town to this place is 2,000 kilometers away, and that town is already in an extremely remote part of Russia. Polar bears, swarms of mosquitoes, and powerful storms would be the least of your worries. The greatest problem with this place would be something going wrong with the ridiculous chain of logistics required to get out here and being lost in what is perhaps the largest remaining unexplored frontier in the world. Furthermore, the current political situation between Russia and the US makes visiting this place even more difficult. The alien beauty of this place, its incredible remoteness, and the danger required to get here make Arkansas a no-brainer for my #1 most difficult to reach place.